بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم ارزقنا الإخلاص في القول والعمل يا رب العالمين. Inshallah ta'ala, we are going to start a new book, and this book is connected to Ramadan due to the preparation for Ramadan. So inshallah, starting from today, we're going to start this book called Majalis Ramadan, meaning the gathering or gatherings of Ramadan, or gatherings in the month of Ramadan by Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah. The Sheikh passed away about 25 years, exactly 25 years ago. 25 years ago is one of the great scholars of our time. So the Sheikh, he gave these classes during Ramadan, and it was compiled into a book. So the Shaykh mentioned, rahimahullah, he says that these classes, of course, were happening in Ramadan, and it includes all the rulings that are connected to fasting and qiyam, praying, and zakah, and those things that are connected to that, like Quran and ruling connected to Quran and things of that nature. So the Shaykh, rahimahullah, he started with the first gathering, Al-Majlis al-Awwal. He said, Fi Fadlu Shahr Ramadan. The first chapter or the first sitting is connected to the virtues or the excellence of Ramadan. What are the excellence of Ramadan that we know? Most of us have been fasting all our lives. All right? We've been fasting. Or if not all our lives, we've been fasting a while. We've heard some benefit or excellence of Ramadan. Maybe somebody can help us. What are the virtues of Ramadan, or excellence of Ramadan, or the benefit of Ramadan? Let's put it that way. Getting closer to Quran. Okay. All right. We'll take that. Getting closer to Allah. Okay. It's a means of getting close to Allah. Now, okay. We'll take that. Those are two.
More charity, good deeds to be done.
More charity, good deeds. Okay. But Khalid, yes. The virtues of Ramadan. Can you give us something?
The virtues of Ramadan. Well, putting yourself in the position of those who have to fast involuntarily, because of their condition. So you put yourself in that same position.
Okay. All right.
And the virtue of it, my opinion is, you see, you experience their situation.
You experience
100%, but you experience their situation.
Okay. All right. I think I know where you.
Meaning, we fast voluntarily.
No.
But they fast involuntarily. They just don't have it.
Oh, nah. Okay. I see where you're going with that.
They don't have it.
You're talking about those who do not have food to eat, and they have to.
Right.
They have to go without eating. So by fasting, we're able to experience what they go through.
Yes.
Now, jazakumullah khair, jazakumullah barakallah fi. Okay, now. So the Shaykh, rahimahullah, after praising Allah Azza wa Jal, and he sent the salah and the salam and salam on the Prophet sallallahu he said, Ikhwani, laqad adallana shahrun kareem wa mawsim azim يعظم الله فيه الأجر ويجزل المواهب. He says that, the Sheikh says that, oh my brothers, indeed upon us is a noble month. Upon us a noble month and a great season where Allah magnifies in it a reward, and He rewards generously. This is the first virtue of Ramadan, Sheikh mentioned, which is that in the Ramadan, Allah Azza wa Jal, He rewards us bountifully. He rewards us bountifully, and our reward is tremendous. And from that, from the greatest of the reward is the reward of Laylatul Qadr. Right? We know in Surah Al-Qadr, Allah said, Laylatul Qadri khayru min alfi shahr. That in the night of Qadr is best, is better than 1,000 months. That's a lifetime of a person. Right? That's up close to like almost 70 years. So one night, if a person worship Allah, if he does that worship Allah, that one night, that may be a means for him, to get to Jannah. And of course, we know in Laylatul Qadr, the scholars mentioned that is the last 10 days. Some of the scholars that you can find in the last 10 days, some places the odd nights. Some of the scholars it's just the last 10 nights of Ramadan. So the Shaykh continues, he says, وَيَفْتَحُ أَبْوَابَ الْخَيْرِ فِيهِ لِكُلِّ رَاغِبٍ. He says Allah opens the door. This is the second benefit. That Allah opened the doors of goodness for anyone who is wanting to do it, who is seeking goodness. Right? We know in Ramadan, we are doing so much act of worship, subhanAllah. We're fasting, right? We're reading Quran, we're praying Qiyamul Layl, right? Even the Quran, we are doing it. There's a lot of things you do in Ramadan that is difficult to do other than Ramadan. Most of us, in Ramadan, we have energy and we have strength and we are reading Quran. We give a Qiyamul Layl and so on and so forth. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jalla make that in Ramadan. It makes it easy in Ramadan for us, subhanAllah. It's easier in Ramadan. So the Shaykh says that Allah opened the door of goodness to those who are seeking it. The Shaykh continues and he says, Shalul khairat wa barakat, Sharul minhu wal hibat. He said this is the month of Ramadan is a month of goodness, the month of blessings, and the month of giving. The month of giving. Right? We find, like I said, in this month is where we find doing act of goodness, doing act of worship. Allah make it easy for Ramadan. Allah make it easy for in Ramadan. So much so that after Ramadan, many of us, we ask Allah to help us, we go back to the way we were before. Right? We don't have the strength to do what we were doing in Ramadan, because Allah Azza wa Jalla make easy for us in Ramadan. And from the virtue of Ramadan is that Allah Azza wa Jalla, He revealed Quran, this tremendous book that Allah make as a guidance for us. The book that Allah sent as a guidance to mankind. As a guidance to mankind in Ramadan. As Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 185. Allah said, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 185, the month of Ramadan in which Quran is sent down as a guidance for human beings and as a, that has in it, وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِنَ الْهُدَى وَالْفُرْقَانِ, that has clarification of guidance and criterion between good and falsehood. This is the book. This is, remember, Allah sent it down. Of course, it's not everything was not revealed, as scholars mentioned. Everything was sent down to Bayt al-Izzah, as has been mentioned. Allah revealed it to Jibreel. Then it was slowly revealed little by little over the 23 years. So, Quran, from the virtue of Ramadan, is that Quran is revealing it. Then the Shaykh mentioned, he says, وَشَارٌ مَحْفُوفٌ بِرَحْمَةٍ وَمَغْفِرَةٍ وَالْعِتْقِ مِنَ النَّارِ. He said this month is filled with mercy and forgiveness and being free from the hellfire. Free from the hellfire. We know the hadith. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where it said that there are some people that are going to be free from the hellfire. Alright? The people are going to be free. Some people that they have been decreed that they're going to go to that they're going to go to hellfire. Allah is going to free some of the people from the hellfire. The Shaykh says, and the beginning of it is mercy. The beginning of Ramadan is mercy. And the middle of it is forgiveness. And the end of it is to be saved from the hellfire. How is the question? How is Ramadan mercy to us? How is it mercy? How is it mercy?
Because Allah is blessing us, He's giving us generously,
Mm-hmm.
and He's making things that we will not do ordinarily outside of Ramadan easy for us to do.
Naam, Jazakumullah khairan. Naam. Yes, Allah make it easy for us in Ramadan. Allah make things that we ordinarily would do in Ramadan. Allah make it easy for us in Ramadan. And the Shaykh, and from that mercy is a hadith. There are many hadith that reported, is a hadith reported by Abu Hurairah, that the hadith is authentic, where the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا جاء رمضان فتحت أبواب الجنة وغلقت أبواب النار وصفدت الشياطين. I did mention that when Ramadan comes, the door of Jannah, the doors of Jannah are open. The doors of Jannah are open, and the doors of the hellfire are closed or locked. And the shayateen are chained down. They're chained. These hadith is showing the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. The door of Jannah is open, the door of the hellfires are closed, and the shayateen are chained down. So this is from the virtue of Ramadan. He says, the Shaykh says, from the benefit, subhanallah, he says, وَإِنَّمَا يُفْتَحُ الْأَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ في هذه الشهر لكثرة الآمال الصالحات وترغيبا للعاملين. He said, the reason for the door of the Jannah being open in Ramadan, or the doors of Jannah being open in Ramadan, is due to a lot of righteous action people are doing. Due to a lot of Muslims, subhanAllah, you see maybe that you don't see in the masjid. Right? We wait till Ramadan comes. Right? When Maghrib is in, this place is packed. It's packed. Right? So Allah Azza wa Jalla making it easy for us. Right? We are doing a lot of active worship in Ramadan. The Shaykh says that this is why the door of the paradise are open. And this is the reason why the doors of the hellfire are closed. I say the door of Jannah open as a means to encourage the people to do righteous actions. as a means for people to do righteous action. He said, وتغلق أبواب النار لقلة المعاصي من أهل الإيمان. And the doors of hellfire are closed due to the less act of disobedience of people of Iman. People are committing less sins in Ramadan. People are committing less in Ramadan. And he mentioned that also the shayateen are chained down, and they are not able to do what they would ordinarily do in other than Ramadan. They are chained down, and they don't have the freedom to do what they are doing in Ramadan, whereas in other months before Ramadan, they were running wild. You find some Muslims that Ramadan, whatever sins they are committing, we ask Allah to help all of us.
Amen.
Right? They leave that month not to do any act of sins. Right? They don't want to commit sins in Ramadan. Maybe they'll wait till Ramadan. They can't wait till after Ramadan. But Ramadan, they will stay away. And this is from the virtue of Allah Azza wa Jal that He gave to us in Ramadan. Now, the Shaykh now mentions some other narrations in the narration. And this narration is reported by Imam Ahmed in his Musnad on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, where the Prophet, he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course this hadith, they said the hadith is there's weakness to this hadith, that this hadith is weak, but due to, and the scholars they do this, if the hadith is weak, like this hadith now that I'm going to mention is weak, but there are other hadith or part of this hadith that are mentioned in the other narrations that are authentic. Right? So the scholars will mention hadith sometimes that may be weak. The hadith may be weak. Because of number of reasons, of course. From us, that part of the hadith may be authenticated, right? Maybe authenticated by other hadith, and but they'll still mention in this hadith. They'll mention a hadith. Or that the meaning of the hadith is confirmed by another hadith, or is confirmed by a statement in the Quran. Right? If the meaning of the hadith has a meaning, it has a meaning like similar to in the Quran, the scholars will mention it that okay, that hadith is good, even though the narration, the people that are narrating the hadith, there may be problem with those who narrate the hadith. They will mention that. And of course, from another reason why the scholars will mention a weak hadith is that, of course, after you having other hadith that can support it, is that if it's to encourage in righteous actions, if the hadith is weak, then there's no problem. They are supporting evidences. In other words, they will mention hadith like this. So the Sheikh mentioned this hadith by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, where it is said that the Prophet said that my ummah has been given 5 things or 5 characteristics in Ramadan that is not given to other ummah before me. So my ummah has been given 5 things in Ramadan that all of the nations that came before are not given. All right, all the other nations are given. It says the first one is, it says khulufu fami sa'im atyab inda Allahi min rih al-misk. It says that one of them is that the smell of the fasting person, right, is more beloved to Allah. It's more beloved to Allah than the smell of misk. That the smell of a fasting person. A person fasts, and when a person fasts, a person has smell in their mouth, right? Of course, we shouldn't be going around and our mouth is smelling. We have, we try to use miswak or brush your teeth, inshallah. But the mouth smells in Ramadan. And the Sheikh mentioned the reason for that is due to the absence of food in the stomach. When the stomach is empty, then it brings out the smells, comes out from the mouth. The Sheikh says, he said this smell is disliked to the people. People dislike this. Nobody likes, a person who has a smelly mouth close to them. But this is beloved to Allah. Due to this smell is due to the obedience to Allah. That's why it's beloved to Allah. More than misk. And the Sheikh says, he's given a principle here. He says, anything, كل ما نشأ عن إبادتي وطاعتي فهو محبوب عند الله عنده سبحانه يعوض عنه صاحبه ما هو خير وأفضل وأطيب. It says that anything that is from the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal is beloved to Allah. So fasting is from the obedience to Allah, and it smell may be bad, but in Allah it smell like misk. So يعوض الله عنه يعوض عنه صاحبه. Allah will reward the person for that action and give him what is better. The Shaykh said, do you not see a mujahid who died for the sake of Allah, who was stabbed, and he will have the blood. Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to come, and his blood will still be upon him. Like the mujahid is just supposed to bury like that. It's not supposed to be wrapped up, it's just to be buried like that. But his blood that he had in his dunya, it will smell like what? The misk as well. So the Shaykh used that as an example. So that's the first thing. The five things that it was mentioned. He says from the second thing that the hadith mentioned is أن الملائكة تستغفر لهم حتى يفتروا, that the malaika, they will make istighfar for the believers until they break their fast. Of course, I said that the hadith is weak, but there are other narrations that support that. From the narration that support this is dawah. The Prophet mentioned a hadith, Man sama Ramadan imanan ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. Prophet mentioned a hadith that is authentic. He said, whoever fasted Ramadan with iman and seeking the reward, Allah will forgive him of his sins. And this hadith mentioned that what? That the malaika will seek forgiveness for the person. Right? Allah will seek forgiveness for the person. But in Surah Al-Tahrim, verse 6, Allah said regarding the malaika, right? لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلوا ما يؤمرون. Allah said that they do not disobey Allah what He commands them, but they only do what Allah commands. You see how those come together now? Like the hadith mentioned that Allah will forgive the believers, right? Allah alam, maybe Allah is the one that commanded. If the hadith if it's true, if it's correct, perhaps Allah Azza wa Jalla was asking the malaika to seek istighfar for the believers so that He can forgive them. Now, then the third thing that was mentioned is that from the thing that Allah Azza wa Jalla gave to this ummah, that He didn't give it to ummah before, is that Allah will beautify the Jannah. Allah will beautify Jannah every day. And Allah will say, يُوشِكُ عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ أَن يُلْقُوا عَنْهُمْ الْمَعُونَ وَالْأَذَى وَيُرْسُوا إِلَيْكَ. So Allah will beautify the Jannah every day. And as Allah will say that my righteous servants are my righteous servants are about to be removed. Excuse me. The their difficulty and stress of this dunya is about to be taken away from them. And so that they can come into you. Allah will be saying that while he's beautifying the Jannah. So my Sharia is about to come so that they can be in your Jannah. Now, so from the fourth thing the Sheikh mentioned is Allah Maradat al-Shayateen, that the Shayateen are what? They are chained away. They are chained. They are chained away. And Shaykh says that this is from the blessing of Allah as though that they are chained away, that they are not able to affect a believer the way they will affect them other than in other months. And the last thing the Shaykh mentioned regarding that is that أن الله يغفر لأمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم في آخر ليلة من هذا الشهر, that Allah Azza wa Jal, He forgive the Ummah of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم in one night. And what's that night? Laylatul Qadr. The Laylatul Qadr, Allah forgive the Ummah of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Shaykh says إذا قاموا بما ينبغي أو يقوموا به في هذا الشهر المبارك, if they establish what they're supposed to, Allah will forgive them. From fasting, from praying at night. Allah will reward them. Allah will reward them, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will forgive them of their sin. They said, we also mentioned a hadith that where we said that the Prophet said that whoever fasted Ramadan with Iman and seeking the reward, Allah will forgive for the sins that came before. And in a hadith, the Prophet said that whoever stands in Laylatul Qadr with Iman and seeking the reward, Allah will forgive the sins that that proceed from the sins that came before, from his sins, all the sins that came before. And of course, it is important to mention that the scholars mentioned that as for the major sins, a person has to repent from it now. Fine. So, what we have mentioned so far, the Sheikh essentially, I'm not going through everything because we want to make sure that people are not sleeping, just trying to pick some the points and stuff. So what the Sheikh just mentioned is the virtue of Ramadan. Now the Sheikh is going to mention in chapter 2 the virtue of fasting. The virtue of Ramadan is different from the virtue of fasting. Now the virtue of fasting, the first thing the Sheikh in the second sitting, chapter 2 or the second sitting of the Sheikh, after praising Allah Azza wa Jal and sending the salam on the Prophet ﷺ, he said that from the virtue of fasting is that he said فَمِن فَضَائِلِ الصَّوْمِ أَنَّ اللَّهَ كَتَبَ عَلَى الْجَمِيعِ الْأُمَمِ وَفَضَرَهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. He says from the virtue of fasting that Allah decreed fasting on all the nations that came before. That there's no nation that came before us except that is in their legislation that they have in their nation that they fast. Right? We know that the Jews, they fast, and the Christians, they fast too. Right? And of course, the other nations we don't know, but we know based on the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 183, where Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 183, oh, you believe. Excuse me. Excuse me. Allah said, oh, you believe. Fasting has been decreed upon you, just as it has been decreed upon those who came before you, so that you can attain taqwa, so that you can reach piety. So that's the first thing the Shaykh mentioned, It said from the virtue of fasting is that it said ومن فضائل الصيام في رمضان أنه سبب لمغفرة الذنوب والتكفير السيئات. It says now from the first virtue of fasting in Ramadan, in fasting Ramadan, is that it's a means of a person's sins being forgiven. It's a means for a person's sins being forgiven. As a hadith Prophet mentioned, the Prophet mentioned, says, "As-salawatu khams wa jumu'ah ila jumu'ah wa Ramadan ila Ramadan mukaffiratun baynahunna idha ijtaniba al-kaba'ir." The Prophet said in a hadith that a 5 daily salah, our 5 daily salah that we do, and from Jumu'ah to Jumu'ah, and from one Jumu'ah to another Jumu'ah, and from Ramadan to Ramadan, mukaffiratun, they are means of expiation if the major sins are abandoned, if a person stay away from the major sins. So from the virtue of fasting, a Shaykh says, وَمِنْ فَضَائِلِ أَنَّ الصَّوْمَ أَنَّ ثَوَابَهُ لا يتقيد بعدد معين بل يعطي الصائم أجر بغير حساب. Allahu Akbar. He said from virtue of fasting that the fasting is not, the reward of fasting is not restricted to a particular amount. The reward of fasting is not restricted to a particular amount, but Allah gives without measure fasting. Subhanallah. As mentioned in hadith of Abu Hurairah also, radiallahu anhu, where he said, he says, hadith Qudsi, where Allah Azza wa Jalla said, كل عمل بني آدم له إلا الصوم فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به. Allah said in hadith Qudsi, He said that all of the action of children of Adam is for him except fasting. It is for me, and I will reward for it. I will reward for it. The Shaykh commenting on this hadith, he said from the benefit of this hadith that we mentioned, he says that Allah Azza wa Jalla specified fasting for himself, away from the rest of the actions. If you pray, that's for you. If you make Hajj, that's for you. If you go to your parent, that's for you. But Allah has specified fasting, said, this fasting is for me, and I will reward for it. I will reward for it. Why is fasting? Who can tell us why is fasting so special like that? What gives fasting that special thing?
Because we're abstaining ourselves from what we desire the most.
Okay, mashallah, that's not bad. We're restricting that. We're holding back our desires, which we want, most of us anyways, right? Right, our desires, food, drinks, and things like that. Now, yes, okay, that's one of them. Anyone else? Anyone? But no? You're thinking, huh? Sheikh, you with us? Are you with us or?
What was the question?
I said that why is fasting so special? Why do we think Allah choose fasting to say that fasting is for me and I'll reward for it?
The discipline of it.
The discipline, okay, all right. Yes.
It's an act of worship.
It's act of worship. All of them are act of worship.
In obedience to Allah.
Now, okay.
Sacrifice.
But there's something else that's too cool. Because you want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if it's related to the question, but I think the reward, because you are the only person fasting know that he's
Barakallah, that's what I'm looking for.
fasting, because you can
Nah.
go and eat and come and sit down and say,
Nah,
I'm fasting.
Jazakallah khair. That's a very important point. Because it's closer to ikhlas, it's closer to sincerity, right? Nobody knows you're fasting unless you tell them. If you tell people that you're fasting, right? But if you don't tell people, it's between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. And it's closer to sincerity. The secret actions are more beloved to Allah than the outward actions. Action everybody sees. Because it's closer to sincerity. Now, he said from the benefit of this hadith that Allah had add this fasting to himself. It is for me, Allah Azza wa Jalla said. It's for me. And Allah is Al-Azim. Allah is all great. And he added that shows the virtue and the greatness of fasting. He said from the benefit of this hadith, the benefit of this hadith is that أن الصوم جنة أي وقاية وستر يقي الصائم من لغو والرفث. He said from the benefit of this hadith is that fasting is a junnah, is a protector, right? That protects a person from just talking anyhow and cursing. You find people that they will curse, right? In times they're not fasting, but when they are fasting, they know that in this state that they have to respect the state they are in. You know? They have to respect the state. So it protects a person from being loose mouth or loose tongue, as they say, right? Now, Alhamdulillah. He said from the benefit of the hadith is that أن الخلوف فم الصائم أطيب عند الله من ريح المسك لأنها من آثار الصيام. He says from the benefit of the hadith is that the smell of the breath of the fasting person is beloved to Allah more than the smell of a misk. And this is due to the person fasting. The smell is as a result of a person fasting, and this is the reason why it's beloved to Allah. Allah Azza wa Jalla does not, if a person is not fasting, his mouth, it is, Allah. Right? If a person is not fasting and they come to, it's not allowed for you to come to Salah where you just eat what? Onions or garlic and things like that. Right? So if you're not fasting, right, it's not beloved to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Now, Father.
Yeah, and also too, when you fast, you're more short-tempered. Too, like
Nah.
A lot of people fast. That's why you don't do a lot of talking either.
Nah.
No.
Nah. Jazakallah khair. That's true. Now. Right. So it said from the benefit of fasting, the Shaykh mentioned, it says, أن للصائم فرحتان عند فطره وفرحتان عند لقاء ربه. It says that, and from the benefit of the hadith is that the fasting person has two happiness or two joy. One of them is what's the first one? What's the first joy?
Fasting.
Yeah. What's the first? What is the Sheikh mentioned that a fasting person has two joy. He has two happiness that's going to get.
Joy of breaking it fast.
For your breaking his fast, Jazakallah khair. When a person breaks his fast, some of us, when it's time for breaking our fast, start getting the food ready, right? Making sure that, say, Allahu Akbar, man, I'm ready to go, right? Right? So that's one. So when a fasting person is looking forward to break his fast, and when he breaks his fast, he's so happy, like, now I can breathe. That's one. And the second one is what?
The reward.
The reward when it meets Allah Azza wa Jal. Many of us, we are not thinking about, we're fasting, and we hope Allah Azza wa Jal reward for our fasting, But reality of our reward is when we meet Allah Azza wa Jal. When we meet Allah, everything we've been doing, subhanAllah. When a person dies, as a believer, what comes to our mind is, subhanAllah, what good deeds has this person put forth? That's what we should be thinking about. What good deeds has this person put forth? Because if you put something good forward, he's good with Allah Azza wa Jal. If he does not put something forward, it's in a tremendous calamity. And from those things that benefit a person with Allah Azza wa Jal is fasting. When he meets to Allah, he will be happy. He will meet with Allah. So the Prophet said in this hadith that for the fasting point is true happiness. Fasting when he breaks his fast, and fasting when he meets his Lord, that he can see the reward Allah has prepared for him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from the benefit, and inshallah we'll stop after this, it says, وَمِن فَضَائِلِ الصَّوْمِ أَنَّهُ يَشْفَعَ لِصَاحِبِهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. It says that from the benefit of this is that fasting will be an intercessor for the fasted person Yawm al-Qiyamah. That the fasting will be a shafa'a person. None of us is perfect. We ask Allah to forgive us. Ameen. If we have, we know there's going to be on Yawm al-Qiyamah, there's going to be intercession. There's going to be intercession from the prophets to the sinful believers. All right? There's going to be intercession of Quran. Right? The Quran is going to intercede for those people who memorize Quran. And from the intercession is also the intercession for those who fast. That on Yawm al-Qiyamah, fasting is going to be an intercession. The fasting of the person will be intercessor for him Yawm al-Qiyamah. As been reported by a hadith, Abdullah ibn Amr, radiallahu anhuma, he says that the Prophet said, "As-siyamu wal-Qur'an yashfiyan lil-abd Yawm al-Qiyamah." He says that the Prophet said that fasting and Quran both of them will be an intercessor for a person Yawm al-Qiyamah. And that the fast of a person will say, Rabbi manatuhu at-ta'am wa shahwa fayashfi bihi fayashfa'ani bihi. He says, or fayashfa'ani fi. He says that the siyam, the fasting of a person will come in Yawm al-Qiyamah. He's going to say, Rabbi, oh my Lord, I prevented him from his food. That the fasting will say that I prevent him from his food. And I prevent him from his desires. Oh my Lord, let me intercede for him. The fast was going to be saying this. It's a fast will say to Allah Azza wa Jal, oh Allah, I prevent him from him not eating. And I prevent him from not fulfilling his desires. Oh Allah, let me intercede for him. And likewise, Quran will say, I prevent him from sleeping at night. So let me intercede for him. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us from those that Quran and our fasting intercede for us يوم القيامة. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Inshallah, we'll stop there. Then the question, inshallah, we'll take it. If not, we'll stop, inshallah, Azza wa Jal.